to discuss. When it come to news, ain't no better than us. When it come to news, ain't no one you can trust. We got a lot to touch, so it's time to crush. We got a lot to discuss. When it come to news, ain't no better than us. When it come to news, ain't no one you can trust. We got a lot to touch, so it's time to crush. So it's time to crush.
Peace and blessings, and welcome back to Xbox Frontline News with your boy, The King. Now, sometimes you can be in a great relationship. From the outside, it looks fantastic, right? You can have one of those dream marriages from the outside, posting pictures on IG, looking all fantastic, looking like this is the best thing since sliced bread. But underneath all of that, you could be living a miserable life, right? Your spouse doesn't care about you. You don't care about your spouse. You want to get a divorce as soon as possible. Like, you view that person as something as completely as toxic as it's going to be. But on the outside, the world thinks that y'all are good, think that you're great, think that y'all are the model couple. Well, this is the story about Moon Studios and Xbox. And by the time I'm done, you will understand a lot of things, because I don't think it's being reported properly. No rest for the wicked. Yep, this is true. There's no rest for the wicked. So you know your boy's up for a good Twitter scrap, if you will, or it's X scrap. What do you call it now, right? Well, no rest for the wicked may skip the Xbox for the time being due to current market conditions. CEO says the game will be coming to Xbox eventually. Now, here's an update. Moon Studios CEO Thomas Muir has been replying to people on social media today, confirming that No Rest for the Wicked will be on Xbox eventually, but the PlayStation launch makes the most sense at the moment. And he's absolutely right. He's not wrong in his assessment. You know, for a long time, Moon Studios have been feeding at the nipple, if you will, of Xbox and Microsoft's Game Pass. If you know, the Ori series is from Moon Studios. And the Ori series has had a comfortable bag launching inside Game Pass, being financed by Microsoft and such. Helping out marketing and stuff like that, and exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. Right now, No Rest for the Wicked is on the PC in early access. So it's also being developed for the PlayStation 5 and the Series consoles. Now, I don't know if there's a Switch 2. Is this potentially a Switch 2 for release? But there was a whole bunch of hoopla. And you got a lot of individuals that actually, rock with Xbox, allowing the pathetic port begging ponies to rile them up. Now, we know in October that everything that's on the PC will be available in the Xbox ecosystem. And we do know that the dynamic is changing. But a lot of people like to make a lot of stuff out of nothing. This is actually a nothing burger. Sell a game on the PC, Xbox guys that actually got a ROG that actually wants to play your game, get a chance to play it. I'm pretty sure that they're holding out for a Game Pass bag, but being that this game is not being backed by Microsoft, I doubt a Game Pass bag is imminent, right? Much like the other two titles where the Game Pass bag was in effect, this is not in play here. So you sell it to the PlayStation 5 and you let those guys get a chance to play the game. Let them buy it. Xbox guys at the moment have way too many games. And to launch your game in that competitive environment, it doesn't make financial sense. Whereas the PlayStation really doesn't have anything going on over this. So it would make a huge ton of sense to launch your game over on the PlayStation first, and then eventually make your way over to the Xbox. But for us Xbox guys that really want to play the game, regardless to what, we'll be able to play the game come this October if we have a PC or the handheld or not. So Again, this is a big nothing burger, but at the end of the day, no rest for the wicked will show up. If you're a fan of the game, if you're a fan of Moon Studios and Private Division, well, then you got something to look forward to. Me, myself, it was not on my radar, and I can care less. You missed the platform, you missed the platform. You're not in Game Pass, you're in Game Pass. Whatever happens, happens. You actually launch, you launch. I understand that the more eyes that you have on your product makes your product more attractive to everyone. But see how the staggered release works out for you. I mean, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
We need answers. Now.
Leave it up to the king to be 98% right all the time and investigate this whole situation. Moon Studios becomes fully independent after securing No Rest for the Wicked's publishing rights. The company now hopes to develop the action RPG without any restrictions. That word "without any restrictions" means that whoever was backing the game, which was Take-Two, was giving instructions for them to have restrictions on the game. Developer Moon Studios have become fully independent after acquiring the publishing rights to its upcoming action RPG No Rest for the Wicked. Take-Two Interactive, the vested Private Division label, had been set to release the project. After the label was sold, Moon spent months negotiating for the publishing rights to No Rest for the Wicked. The game was not included in the sale of Private Division, and currently unreleased assets Take-Two's initially intended to keep supporting it. What's left of the label is now being reportedly in the hands of the former Annapurna Interactive staff and Havenel Investments. We have secured the publishing rights for No Rest for the Wicked, allowing us to execute our vision without any restrictions. They keep saying without any restrictions based upon whatever restrictions was placed upon them from Take-Two. Moon's latest studio break-off was from its publishing partner and to strike out on its own. Back in 2024, Endless Dungeon maker Amplitude took the indie route after its splitting with Sega. Now we're going to talk, they're talking about people that broke off from other people. Now, here's where all of this makes sense. No Rest for the Wicked will be Moon Studios' first attempt at self-publishing. The two Ori games was handled by Microsoft and Xbox Game Studios. Like I told you, they got a bag from Game Pass. They got a bag from Microsoft that had help publishing along the way. So they really had a safety net. So in making a game, your first attempt, wouldn't you target the one who has the most consoles out there? The one who's not going to give you a bag, the one that you can actually say, yo, let me make some bread here. I will target Steam, I will target PlayStation, and I will come double back on Xbox. My main priority would be Steam, then PlayStation. It only makes sense as your first title out. See, because it could be, as Porter Rock says, grand opening, grand closing. But who am I? I'm just a guy that's willing to do the work to figure out exactly what's up, while other people just tend to click and watch tweets and have short-term memory. I know exactly what's going on with Moon Studios. They're fighting for their survival because they missed this one time. They're closing the doors on them.
I said close them doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors.
To further talk about this situation that everyone seems to think that it's a great idea to come and bash Xbox, let's get into the real thick of it. Ori and the Blind Forest studio head says they could be forced to shut down due to the impact of negative Steam reviews for No Rest for the Wicked. Dark action RPG No Rest for the Wicked has an infinite promise, but in early access dev cycles seem to be an uphill battle for Moon Studios. See, the game itself doesn't seem to be all that good. And Microsoft not backing it when they backed your other two games probably realized that we don't need to go down this route with you. You do make great artsy games, but at the end of the day, is it really any good? Right now, No Rest for the Wicked 6 had mixed reviews on Steam, with users complaining about various aspects of the game design. The negative comments generally seem to revolve around the quality of life features and more clarity in the game on certain mechanics. While others lament the game's slant towards grinding materials, Moon Studios founder Lee Thomas Mueller recently commented on the impact that the review cycle is having on the game's sales and issued a warning about what might happen if things don't improve. Remember what I told you? Sometimes you have to fight for your survival. But I'm just 98% right all the time, and I'm willing to do the work to make sure that you guys get the proper information. Too many times do I see people just go up there, give you some information without realizing what's actually transpiring. There's a lot of things that has transpired, but let's finish. I think people think I'm joking when I'm asking for positive reviews, because in people's mind, there's always some big publisher in the background who will cover the costs. Mueller begins. On Moon Studios' official No Rest for the Wicked. Folks, if you're writing here and enjoying Wicked and are excited for the future updates but haven't left a positive review, it's entirely possible we won't be around in a couple of months to do anything anymore, simply because we got review bomb, which leads to people not buying the game, which means we're not making any money and we will have to shut down. Do you see the level of desperation what I'm talking about here? You're not understanding the forest for the trees. A lot of times dudes want a console war, but actually don't understand what they're talking about. But let's get to it. I wouldn't ask if our business wouldn't be dependent on it. I will also never write reviews on anything, but if you want to see us actually finish Wicked, and it's detrimental that we get the review score back up. Mueller went on to further suggest that negative Steam reviews can kill studios, noting that if No Rest for the Wicked doesn't perform better soon, that the studio will only have a few months left in the oven. Mueller also commented on the review bombing enduring the Path of Exile 2 in early access, as players opted to leave negative reviews as a means of feedback. Not sure people understand that participating in potentially killing the studio they want to see succeed by leaving a negative reviews. I get that some people think that is only way to reach out and get their voices heard, but even companies like Grinding Gear Games won't be able to stomach much more of that review score forever. We had to take enormous risks to buy the publishing rights back. We've got a few months left in the oven. If we don't sell more copies because people review bomb us, you might just cause our death by leaving a negative review that you posted because you wanted us to listen to feedback, which we do anyway. I'm reading this every single freaking day, freaking feedback that's been posted either way. And he cursed here. If you can see it right here, I will highlight it for you. You understand? This is dire. Another update. May 11th, 2025. Moon Studios' Thomas Mueller has since claimed on Twitter that the company is in no immediate financial danger, despite telling supporters that No Rest for the Wicked, that it is entirely possible that we won't be around in a couple of months due to review bombing on May 10th. Now that's May 11th. This is May 10th, right? Alleged that his comments was designed to push back against negative reviews that were apparently politically motivated. Early access has become a way for games to essentially develop products in the public view, soliciting feedbacks on the go. Microsoft titles like Towerborn and Grounded had early access cycles that I can't help but wonder if Sea of Thieves might have benefited from it as well in the early days, but it's no means a silver bullet. Let me tell you, this is an open indictment to what's transpiring in front of you. There are higher agendas happening, but it's irresponsible for people to run with titles, clickbait, and don't give you the full story. It is my job to give you the full story. More of an indictment. Microsoft taking Banjo-Kazooie pitches, Toys for Bob and Moon Studio is interested. This is the rumor. Now, when Microsoft said, Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer, first of his name, said that they're willing to field offers for people to make their IPs, and if they come with a good enough pitch, they're cool with it, right? So lo and behold, guess who shows up? Toys for Bob and Moon Studios. There's reportedly always been an outside interest in revisiting Banjo-Kazooie franchise, but Rare was more interested in new IPs. Now, I do apologize. Just got a crazy text message. Microsoft is looking to the future, and aside for the 40 plus titles already in development, it's been reported that they're taking pitches for new ones, including, surprisingly enough, Banjo-Kazooie. Now, Banjo-Kazooie, the last one was made was nuts and bolts, and it deviated from its beloved formula, but that's not all. But check it out. Robinson also heard a few high-profile developers were allegedly to head up the new project. I heard constantly the name that comes up is Toys for Bob, who really want to do one, funny enough, and I heard Moon Studios as well was one of the others who were interested. While the former is known for Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, the latter is also renowned for the Ori series and is currently working on an action RPG No Rest for the Wicked. He noticed that there's always talk about interest for a cartoon movie of Banjo-Kazooie. Now, don't you see they were always trying to get at that Microsoft money, that Microsoft bag, that cash, that moolah? Don't you see exactly what's transpiring here? See now, and I'm pretty sure if they would have got this job, they would prioritize the Xbox job, right? You gotta really see where it's lying at.
Well, reason for the call today, John, is something just came across my desk, John. It is perhaps the best thing I've seen in the last 6 months. If you have 60 seconds, I'd like to share the idea with you. You got a minute?
Now, Microsoft and Moon Studios has a long history. But the thing that goes along with it, Microsoft wants surefire hits. They wanted to complete the trilogy. And they brought it up to Moon Studios, and they're willing to back and they're willing to finance, but Moon Studios was hell-bent on No Rest for the Wicked. Microsoft and Moon Studios recently talked about a third Ori adventure, but the studio founder notes that they were currently completely focused on No Rest for the Wicked. One of the coziest games of the last decade is Ori and the Blind Forest from 2015, which got an equally cozy sequel in Ori Will of the Wisp in 2020. When the studio Moon Studio moved on with No Rest for the Wicked, many probably thought the series was retired. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, Moon Studios founder Thomas Mueller said. He revealed that No Rest for the Wicked in the Discord that he recently had a conversation with Microsoft about Ori 3. However, he emphasized that all focus is right now on No Rest for the Wicked and doesn't seem particularly interested in letting any other studio continue the story of Ori's adventure. It should be mentioned that Moon Studios said a year ago that they're not ruling out Ori 3. In other words, hope springs eternal, but be prepared to wait a long time. What I gather from this is Thomas Mueller decided that No Rest for the Wicked was his time, his IP. He had 2 proven hits, and he thought that he can get funded by Microsoft, but Microsoft was only interested in the Ori series and said, well, how about one of our studios taking over the Ori studios and we'll pay you to have that done. And he pretty much shot that down. understand this rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper the more you look at it.
No, I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want you no more.
Could Thomas Mueller be jaded at the fact that Moon Studios is not getting the Banjo-Kazooie IP in order to make his what he feels is an IP that can rival the best 3D Mario game? Moon Studios CEO believes a new Banjo-Kazooie game could rival the 3D Mario sales, and he wants to head that project. Moon Studios is a talented team behind the charming 2D platformer Ori and the Blind Forest and its sequel, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, both of which are on the Nintendo Switch. Now, Pure Xbox got a chance to chat with CEO Thomas Mueller and asked a range of questions, and of course the talk turned to Banjo-Kazooie. Apparently, he's very fond of Banjo-Kazooie. Mueller expressed his disappointment at Microsoft sitting on a prestigious IP and believes that if it was done right, the game could even rival a 3D Mario and probably sell similar numbers. So he's always been in the camp of getting a hold of that IP and making the most out of that IP. And I don't know if those words are being felt by Microsoft, if his sales pitch was actually pretty good. But apparently it got a little bit, some tension is there. And I get the tension is there because, again, this is the time when they're not independent. And he's fighting for his independence. A Microsoft bag will further his independence and hopefully get his game, No Rest for the Wicked, funded.
Do you need some money?
For all you pathetic port-begging ponies, hashtag no PlayStation 6, we're gonna run it up on these bums. I'm gonna keep the boot on Kong's neck this whole generation. For all of y'all running with articles talking about Thomas Mueller is your new hope. He's the new greatest person that has abandoned Xbox. Well, he doesn't really like you too much either. You're just being used, you monkey. Now, Moon Studios CEO says Sony will eventually follow Microsoft and abandon console exclusivity. Thomas Mueller, CEO and developer of Moon Studios, had revealed in a lengthy post on X that he believes Sony will eventually wave goodbye to the console exclusivity as Microsoft has with its approach to releasing games on other platforms. Mueller argued that the gaming hardware has stagnated in terms of attracting players over the past 2 decades and feels that in order for the industry to grow, it needs to be easier for everyone to access content. He also feels that the entry price for the new consoles is still way too high. He said, "I'll be surprised if Sony won't end up with the same strategy. People should buy the device they like the most, but should then have access to all the content. And yes, Nintendo will keep doing their own thing because Nintendo is Nintendo, and that's okay. Rooting for one of the huge corporations to sell more boxes over another strikes me as fanatical and senseless. We should all just share and love games." I'm telling you, the moment that you thought that you had a champion in Thomas Mueller, I'm Mr. 98% right all the time is here to kick you square in your nuts so you can learn that I'm the dude and you're not the dude. So hashtag no PlayStation 6. We're going to run it up on these bums. I'm going to keep the boot on Kong's neck this whole generation. You monkeys. Gotcha.
Gotcha. So I would like to thank everyone that was involved with this negotiation.
And this is when Mr. 98% right closes the show. And I'm going to tell you, man, I do this better than anybody that you've ever seen do it, man. And this is it. I told you I would find the smoking gun, and this is the smoking gun. So anytime that you ever figure that you're going to look at any of my content and figure that my content is not the best content, I'm going to give you the most concise content that's out here. But let's get into this. All right. And this is by Kat Bailey. And this is from IGN. And this was released in March 18th, 2022. All right, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ori's developers' culture reportedly oppressive, no longer working with Xbox. A lengthy new report delves into Moon Studios' reported culture issues. Moon Studios, the developer behind Ori and the Blind Forest and the sequel, is reportedly an oppressive place to work and has a myriad amount of issues with crunch, verbal abuse, and poor organization. This is according to the new report by GamesBeat, which reports that Microsoft and Xbox is no longer working with the studio following what was said to be a difficult relationship. The lengthy report details a range of allegations, most of which center on the studio's founders, Thomas Mueller and Gennady Korol. They include reports of constant arguments, crunch culture in which developers were expected to be available at all hours and on weekends, with a steady stream of racist, sexist, and anti-Semitic banter. It's an oppressive workplace for sure. But it's hard to pinpoint one thing because it's isolation. All of these incidents, if they happened once, you would think there were small things. One developer is quoted as saying, "When you're dealing with that for multiple years, you're going to see a decline in people's mental health." I can say that for myself personally, I was properly messed up after we finished. I never really been depressed until that moment. I lost my passion for my job because they drummed it out of me. Another developer is quoted as saying, "Were the founders both belligerent? Yes, in my opinion. Was it limited to those two? Yes. Unprofessional on an hourly basis? Yes. Harassing? Yes." The full report paints a picture of the studio with a perfectionist culture that really provided positive feedback and burnt out developers. The story also covers issues with bonuses and other problems. Developers reportedly compared the issues with Moon Studios with those of Bungie and Activision Blizzard, which has captured headlines with their own problems. Moon Studios originally found success with Ori and the Blind Forest in 2015 and Ori and the Will of the Wisp following in 2020. Both games was gorgeous, Metroidvanias, and some rare bright spots on the Xbox One lineup of exclusives. But while Moon Studios was closely associated with Xbox, it reportedly had a fraught relationship with the platform holder, filled with missed deadlines, conflicts over funding amounts, and constantly changing scope. Moon Studios' next project is reportedly an action RPG that is in developing in partnership with Private Division. IGN reached out to the Microsoft for comment and will update the story with their response. Mueller and Corley responded to the allegation in a lengthy statement to GamesBeat. "We don't believe the experiences suggested by your questions are representative of more than 80 Moon Studio team members who are thriving and doing great work every day, nor do we believe that they are representative of the experience of former members of our team. In fact, we are very proud of our history, making people happy, advancing their careers, and contributing to their financial success. We built Moon Studios with a simple premise. First, we want to create and distribute a distributed studio that is not limited by geographical boundaries, enabling us to draw on the top talent from around the world. Second, we want to foster a vibrant culture where our team thrives and delivers, and with the very fast best work in our industry. And finally, from day one, we set out to share the profits and rewards of our efforts with the full team. We believe we have succeeded. What makes our team so powerful? Our global cultural diversity. We have team members working from more than 40 different countries across 4 different continents, and a flat out studio structure that allows everyone to speak honestly and directly and to challenge and push each other to our very best work. We purposely set out to create a different kind of studio, one that encourages creativity, open communication, collaboration, and performance. The result has been 2 award-winning games with more on the horizon, and a team of professionals who enjoy working together and exceed breaking and excelling and breaking new ground in our industry, while also sharing the financial success of Moon Studios. If at times we are brutally direct in our critique and challenges, we are also genuine and vocal in our praise. We are incredibly proud of everything we have built and achieved together. Finally, we appreciate the irony that we, an Australian and an Israeli Jew, started this multicultural enterprise. We view each other as brothers, and like brothers, we sometimes argue and frequently tease each other. We've made jokes on our own expense about differences in our background, and there may have been some times that our teasing each other has come off as insensitive and made others feel uncomfortable. Moon Studios prospered for 12 years. We have grown and learned much from each other over these years. We have been privileged to work with many, many great, extremely talented people. We are truly grateful and proud of our team, those who are here today, as well as those who have spent time in Moon Studios since we moved on to other adventures. And we are happy to have made many positive differences in their lives. We're not perfect, but we're deeply cared about our talent and our consistently work hard to improve. If we've ever made anyone feel uncomfortable or let anyone down, we regret that, and we will always strive to do better. Moon Studios report is part of an ongoing reckoning with abuse and a work culture throughout the games industry. On the same day GameSpeak released this report, investigative YouTube, many people make games, released a new video focusing on the abuse within the 3 major indie studios. The growth of gaming from a hobbyist to a hobbyist purist into a multi-billion-dollar global industry has laid bare the issues of crunch, abuse, and dog game developers for many years now. Outside of Moon Studios, Xbox must deal with the issues of Activision Blizzard, which they recently acquired. Now, I know that was lengthy, but I felt that in order to read a scathing article of this nature, in order to have one aspect of it and allegations, I needed to have Thomas and Crowley rebut these things. These are very bad allegations, and I don't think any company shouldn't have a voice. I think they should have a voice. All right. But this lets you know what I'm talking about when I said there was some type of rift. There was some type of something that went wrong. And I got it.
I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
And to further explain exactly what I mean, the head of Moon Studios explained why they didn't sell to Microsoft. The closure of the Xbox Studios struck a chord with the community amongst creatives. And check it out. The unexpected announcement of the closure of the Tango Gameworks, Arcane Austin, and AlphaGod. It's supposed to be, I think it was AlphaDog, but AlphaGod Games and Roundhouse Games not only has once again brought to the forefront the recent state of the industry and the controversial decisions, but also served to justify the decisions made by some CEOs at the time. As an example, Moon Studios CEO Thomas Mueller, he's asked a couple of times, why didn't Microsoft purchase you guys, and why didn't you sell to them? Because you had 2 great games that came out on this series. He said, they felt that it was inevitable, but a series of controversies and tensions between the two parties led to the breakup of the relationship. Some believe that Moon Studios would have been part of Microsoft, but in light of today's closures, Mueller said at the time, remember this, he said at the time, he cited the current situation as an example of justification for their decision to maintain independence. In a post on his account on X, to all those who have been bothering me for years about why we didn't sell Moon Studios to a big publisher, Microsoft, it's because of this. I lived through the 90s and saw what happened when EA acquired smaller studios. Never again. And it's words like this that lead you to believe that they gave you a boatload of bread before, and again, this is how you repay that type of work and loyalty with this.
It's not about money. All this stuff is, it's just a blessing to be doing this stuff, right? The money good spot, nigga.
Now, everybody's making such a big deal about the game possibly being late to get to the Xbox platform. Of course, you got to think about it. You got to say Moon Studios sold probably one of the most successful Metroidvania games that has been created, with 10 million copies of Ori and the Blind Forest, right? Or Ori series. I don't know if it was in total. But you got to understand that with that level of success, you would think that there's some form of cohesiveness with that team. But from everything that I laid bare in front of you, all the stuff that you did get a chance to see, everything that you do know now, you do understand that that is a farce. Under that breaming, pristine, if you will, Game of the Year type nominations, music, best 2D, wonderful gameplay. Under all of this heartfelt gameplay, probably some of the best games that was on the Xbox One console. And then to be allowed to drop it on the Switch and PC to further gain more and more traction, you would think that that will have a stable relationship, that will be a thriving relationship. It was not to be. Now, with the allegations that actually came out, and again, I'm going to say those as allegations until something is brought up in court and they're indicted on something of that nature, I can't really go with that. But I'm going to go with this, right? When Activision Blizzard King was going through all those problems and Bobby had to sell, and that's a big giant company, a lot of people looked over and said, well, why isn't Microsoft purchasing Moon Studios? They work great together. We didn't understand what was going on behind the scenes. And the willingness, you have to be willing to be sold. Thomas and the team has fought for their independence. Now they have a title right now called No Rest for the Wicked. And that title is wholly dependent on being successful. As you've seen by the stuff that I post, Thomas was absolutely fearful from the mixed reviews that it was getting. He felt that it was review bombing, that people were doing it out of spite to sink him and his company, because if that game fails, then so does the company. But then turned around in a weird nature to say, oh, I was just highlighting and trying to give pushback on it. Our company, we're financially good. It's either or. Now, similar statements were said before, so I'm going to believe the former. I'm going to believe that the company is in jeopardy if the game doesn't sell. Because similar statements were said about Ori and how if it didn't sell, that they would be bankrupt. And thank God it did. So again, for constantly pitching games to Microsoft and to now seeing why they probably didn't want to be associated with them in that capacity and would have rather put the Ori series into another developer hands. I'm just saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. And a lot of you guys want to use this for console warm, because let me tell you something. I honestly got really upset at the end of the investigation, because then I started looking at everybody's clicking now, because they just want to click. They just don't want the truth. And I'm going to give you the truth at all times. You're going to understand whether you like it or not. I'm 98% right all the time. Hashtag no PlayStation 6. We're going to run it up on these bums. I'm going to keep the boot on Kong's neck this whole generation. Now, a lot of you guys would have got a surface level description of what's really going on. I gave you the most accurate thing on YouTube right now, on the web. If you decide to rock with me, then rock with me. If you don't, then don't. But that's not going to stop me from going and get the actual facts. It's not like Thomas doesn't want to produce every week. Probably doesn't have the capacity to do so. He had to pick. So when you got to pick, you got to go and make the most money as fast as possible as you think you can. Because if you're putting it on Xbox, let's be real, if you're not inside Game Pass and he's used to Game Pass, you may not get seen like that, B. So I got to put it on PlayStation first. I got to put it on PC. And right now, PC, they really shaky on you. So this is the reason why the PlayStation name comes up. See, my thoughts is they're just a company fighting for survival. For them, their name being in the streets right now is getting eyes on this title. This is the best possible thing that could happen to him. So God bless. Hopefully this works out. No rest for the wicked. Hopefully that works out. A lot of times it doesn't. But I'm going to tell you, like I always tell you, unlike Moon Studios, I'm going to take that logo and I'm going to throw it around anything in Game Pass, because Game Pass is where players play and winners win. Try to play the Game Pass.